3-minute showers. How'd you all fare, Calgary? How was that for you? As many of you know, we've been under a water restriction since New Year's Eve with the water main break yet again. And there's so much going on with that. So many people looking for accountability. And today in the studio, we have Landon Johnston, blue collar to Calgary City Council. Let's get into it on this episode of Over the Target with Berta Proud Dad. It's been a crazy year in Calgary with the new election that came out. You guys all know I endorsed Sonia Sharp for mayor. That didn't work, but you know what? One of the people that I wanted to get in got in, and that was Landon Johnston. And he's the city councilor from Ward 14, and we have him on today. And what a crazy time it's probably been for Landon. He's a blue-collar guy, just like me. He's following my dream, really, to go from blue-collar into politics. And I'm just so excited to have him on the show. Thanks for coming in, Landon.
Thank you for having me, Lawrence. This is awesome.
Awesome. So, let's get into that before we get into the crazy world of Calgary water infrastructure, because that's what I really want to talk to you about. Let's talk about your path to politics. I first started following you during the Recall Gondek campaign, and what really got that started for you?
I mean, really, I got into politics probably about heavily 10-something years ago, 2016. And then I just started paying attention to federal, municipal. Like it was there. It affected me. And so just seeing the process of how bills are made, what do we have, legislation, just watching it all, it was very interesting. And then I started realizing like the mistakes that are made that put us into a position as citizens. And so for me, I was like, wow, like I'd love to be in a position to make that change, right? And how do you do that? Well, watching protests happen, like whether it was COVID protests or any protests, and then just seeing the outcome of how citizens have a say in things and realizing citizens really don't have a say in things, right? Like the trucker protests, like what was the outcome of that, right? Like it was frustrating for me to see that as a voice, they don't listen to us. And so to really make change, you have to be in a position to make change. And so for me, I was like, well, how do I get to there? And yeah, I mean, seeing an opportunity, legislation, the Recall Act, majorly flawed legislation from the start. But I saw it as an opportunity to bring light to potentially one of, if not the worst leader we've had in this city. And that was just, priorities were wrong. I mean, obviously I had all my main core issues for why I wanted to recall or at least highlight Mayor Gondek, right? And so I use that as an opportunity to try to bring a voice back to the people, right? And I mean, it started off small. Literally, it was just going to be me walking around collecting signatures. Nobody asked me to do it. I just looked at my wife and I said, I'm going to try this. I'll go get 100 signatures myself, hand it in after the 60 days. And then by the next day, I had 7,000 emails once it kind of went live. And I was like, oh, crap.
Yeah, that was
Right.
that was absolutely insane. And I followed that whole thing. I followed all of it. That's where I really caught wind to who you are. And I think this is actually what boosted your notoriety for a lot of people to know who Landon Johnston was. And eventually, you know, we know that it didn't get over the finish line. We knew that was super hard for you to do. But it did actually get a conversation going in Calgary about what was happening under Jyoti Gondek and her leadership. And as we've seen in the election that you ran in, you know, she didn't stand a chance in that election, and Calgarians did speak in that election.
I would like to think our recall had a part in that. Mm-hmm. I'd like to think we highlighted exactly what you said. The priorities of hers was nonsense. Like people didn't ask for it. She just pushed it through. And then again, people were struggling to pay rent, struggling to get on transit, all the stuff that was being neglected, water infrastructure. Like this was all stuff that was being pushed off to the side for them. And I'll say that core counselor bit, hateful eight, whatever you want to call them, mm-hmm. They had made their priorities something of their own, not what people wanted, right? And that's why we had such a high turnover rate in this recent election.
Did you always know that after the Gondek petition failed, did you say to yourself then, you know what, maybe I'm going to run in the next municipal election? Or what was that process like for you?
Honestly, it was crazy that we had spent the last 5 years my wife's a nurse. I'm HVAC mechanic, right? I run my own business, and I saw an opportunity at the time to get a job elsewhere or start a life somewhere else. And that was actually down in the States. My wife could do well doing travel nursing. I could do sales. And so for the past 4 or 5 years building up until that recall, she was getting her NCLEX, she was getting whatever she needed to get working down in the States. And then same with myself. I actually have a status card. And so being status Indian in Canada, you're under the J Treaty Act, which allows you to cross the border freely without a green card. And so for me, it's really easy. I could go work down the States tomorrow and not have to worry about any paperwork, right? They have to treat you as a U.S. citizen, even if you're born in Canada. So I was safe. But it took my wife a really long time. And it was last year where she finally got a job down in the States. And so that was our plan. I'd never planned on running for politics. But then we got pregnant,
Yeah.
right? We got pregnant while she was down there, and we were like, we'd rather be closer to home with family. So we decided to stay, and I said, if I'm going to stay, I'm going to run for council, right? And that was that. It had nothing really to do with the recall or anything. It's just I wanted to be in a position to change if I'm going to stay here. If we're going to stay here, I want to at least try to make my daughter's future better, right? And this was my opportunity to do that.
Absolutely. And you know, like I said in my intro there, like you're kind of following my path that I thought I would follow, you know, ex-oil and gas, you know, tradesman, you know, I'm a Red Seal heavy equipment technician by trade. And, you know, got into this political sphere and then eventually, you know, want to go into politics. Right. And watching you do it, you know, you get the people out there, they say, you know, it'll never happen. It's an old boys club or an old girls club, and you got to be connected and you got to have all this stuff to get into politics. You're living proof, Landon, that you don't need to be. You just need to have passion for your constituents, passion for your city, and you can hop into this. And if you truly believe in yourself, you can make it happen.
There's a little bit of luck involved, right? I was lucky enough to meet a lot of good people along the way that help, right? But outside that little piece of luck, it's hard work, right? And you're not always going to succeed. A lot of the people on council right now tried 2-3 times to get there, right? And so it's that determination. And I like to call this council like the hardworking council. Everybody there, I think, earned that spot to be there. And I like that about this council. And so hard work does pay off. It doesn't always pay off right away, right? I would like to think I worked really hard for this position. Like, yeah, I had a little bit of name, but I still had to convince every single person at a door that I was the right person. I wasn't just a guy that was going to go there, make a big stink and not get things fixed, right? So I had to come with a platform, come with solutions, right? And I love that part of it. I love going to doors, being grilled, being questioned. And by no means am I perfect. I'm going to make mistakes every single day. But honestly, I think I started in May. I went door knocking. I tried to hit every single door, and there's 30-some thousand doors, right? And there's probably other candidates that have hit every other door. But I just told myself I'm going to be honest at doors. I don't think there's any path forward that taxes aren't raised due to the deferred infrastructure, right? It would be ideal, but the problem is that we're going to have to make hard choices as a council this time. And I was hopefully honest with people at the door. Like, I mean, if we can cut to the bare minimum, we could probably keep taxes the same, right? Get rid of all the nonsense down at City Hall. We could probably fix our infrastructure and keep taxes at inflation or 0%. But, cutting the inefficiencies is going to be a really uphill battle.
Yeah, and I think that's what the mandate is of council, right? We've seen this in the last election. People are ready for a new face. They're ready for something different. We want change, and I think that's exactly why you were all put there. And, you did put the work in, right? I don't want to take any of that away from you. You did put the work in. I know you went outdoor walking. I followed your campaign. I was seeing what you were out there doing. You're very active on Twitter. I just pulled up your Twitter profile here. If you guys are looking to follow Landon, you can go to Landon for Ward 14 on Twitter. And he's active, and he keeps everybody informed on there. And you've been active in city council. I've been watching you do your work in there. And you're a force to be reckoned with. And that's exactly what it is, because you didn't lie to your constituents. constituents about who you are. You're a conservative. You have conservative values and beliefs, but you will represent everybody, and you understand that you represent your whole constituency and not just the conservatives of that constituency.
I love a good fight. I love a good fight for justice, right? And I don't care if I'm fighting for, I don't care what it is. You give me something to fight for and there's justice involved, then I'll fight for it, right? And I told people that. I don't, and I've done it before, right? Like I'll fight for absolutely anything if somebody's being wronged.
And that kind of leads us into, since the election, you guys have had your work cut out for you. You had the budget. The budget was a big one for all of you. You guys were busy. You guys were trying to do what was best for Calgarians. And how do you feel the outcome of that? What's the outcome? What does Landon feel, Councillor Landon, what does he feel of the budget?
It's hard to say it was a loss, right? I voted no on the budget, but my reasoning is that we just didn't cut the efficiencies, right? Like if you look at the priorities of that budget, it does not line up with infrastructure. It does not line up with the basics, does not line up with the essentials, right? And so it was frustrating in my head thinking like, does the rest of council, does the rest of administration know that if we do not fix this infrastructure deficit, like fixing furnaces, I see what happens if you don't maintain something, your vehicle, your whatever, right? It's going to cost you more in the long run. And so my whole thought process during that budget amendment, mid-cycle budget amendment, was how do we cut all of this nonsense? Community court, washroom attendants. Like, I think there's one thing I kind of borderline regret voting on was that I think it was $1 million cleaning up around the safe injection site or around the drop-in center. I voted yes, it was $1 million, but if you've walked around there, it is disgusting.
Yeah.
Right. So I was like, okay, if this cleans up a little bit of downtown with a bit of money, that's fine. Right. But then again, the majority of that money, and I can agree to some expense if I know where it's going to. And so you'll see, I tried to cut the, I think it was a subscription or something it was for IT. They wanted $26 million. So I said, let's cut it in half, take that first 10 million or whatever, put it towards what's essential, come back to us for what that money's actually being used for, and we'll give the other 10 million, right? We still haven't figured out what that $26 million was for, right? And so it's very hard for me to go back to the constituent and be like, here's that $26 million. It was spent on this, this, and this. Whereas my thing is if a government tells you, trust me, right? I'm not going to trust you. I'm sorry, right? If they're not going to give you the proof, if they're not going to show you what's under the rock, then I think as citizens or even as counselor, it's my job to assume the worst, right? Where's that money going? I want to see exact dollar where it's going. And if they don't tell me that, I'm going to make a big stink about it. I don't care.
Well, and to be fair, Landon, you were put in that position by your constituents to do exactly that. That's what they've seen is they want you to be the fighter. They want you to know where that money is going because they deserve to know where that money is going.
I assumed every counselor's job was that.
Absolutely.
MGA says we have to be the people who manage and are transparent and fight for transparency. Like it's within the MGA, that's our job. And so I take that literally every time I go to work. And so I just thought collectively, like, let's make sure every dollar is being spent. And you'll see, like, we had a meeting with the finance team. Like, listen, maybe you can't do the whole organization, but I want to see receipts for every dollar. If we give you $100 million for your department, I want to see how every single one of those dollars is being spent.
Of course.
Because it's never been done before. They've never had, we call it line by line, but I can't really remember what their term is. But I want to see every single dollar being spent as somebody who represents the people giving you that money.
And you said you're an HVAC guy, right? Like that's what you are.
Yeah.
You come from HVAC, but you own your own business. And in your own business, you got to be a line by line guy. I
was audited by the CRA, and when they ask for specifics, you give them specifics.
Absolutely.
I want that same level going the other way. And it's very hard to do that.
So guys, hear me out on this. I'm blown away here, okay? You have a counselor sitting in the studio right now, HVAC guy, blue collar. I've been saying this for years. And this man right here might be the reason, one of the reasons that Calgary City Hall gets cleaned up, a blue collar guy. And that's why I've always said anybody should run for politics. I don't care what your background is. You can make change, and you're doing that. You're doing that. And it's hard. Like, are you getting any pushback on this?
Yeah.
You are, right?
I love it.
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't say I've been successful in any of it at this point, because the pushback is there, right? It's stronger than me, right?
Yeah.
And do I give up? Do I keep going? Right? Just keep going. Like, eventually they're going to crack, right? The system's going to crack, right? It's whether the province steps in or whether council gets our act together, gets our priorities straight. I mean, we have a strategic meeting next week, and that's our opportunity to show Calgarians that our priorities are not DEI. Our priorities are not Indigenous relations. Like, our priorities are the basic infrastructure, right? That is absolutely it. 4 years of basic infrastructure, repairs, replacements. Maybe half of us lose our jobs because of it, because we didn't focus on little things here and there. But guess what? The next generation can now enjoy the city with a little bit of confidence.
So what you're telling us is we're not going to see a blue square this time, right? Under this council, is we're not going to put up a blue square like Nenshi did with the blue ring, and we're going to get into that. But
maybe we got sponsored by PlayStation. We can put a triangle, circle, X, right?
Right.
And I'd be okay with that.
yeah, if PlayStation, no tax money is going to go to it.
That's right.
There you go. So on everybody's mind, you guys did have the budget you guys had to work through. And then, you were just a citizen when the Calgary water main break happened last time. And now you're here sitting on council dealing with this emergency and the Calgary water main breaking again. And all of the stuff that's led up to that. And today, today the water restrictions have been lifted. And I just read that before we came on the show. I think you retweeted that. How has that process been? And from what I'm hearing from Calgarians is it's not good. They're seeing council as passing the buck almost, and nobody's taking accountability, and there's no transparency. And those are just the questions I'm getting from my listeners. We want to hear you. You're there. You're seeing it. And if you go to Landon's Twitter, guys, he's been fighting for you this whole time. So I want to be clear about that. How do we bring Calgary together and say, listen, we are doing things and things are going to happen. Accountability will be there.
Fighting, but still unsuccessful, right? Like, I still feel like I'm failing, right? Like, I feel there's more I can give to bring transparency to not just this process, the whole process, but this process specifically. We find information from the news before we get it from any internal source, right? So we check the news, or I check the news every day to get information. But the process is frustrating because we're in the middle of it. We've got a lot of decisions to make. And again, we're kind of the last to know a lot of things. Like, we go to emergency meetings and stuff, but again, it's just the same information that was already given out. The truth is that council, in a lot of sense, is not guiding this, right? We have little say in anything unless it's a direction from a council meeting, right? So between those real high level committee meetings or council meetings, like, we're supposed to be a cheerleader. We're supposed to be spouting off whatever the narrative is. And that is hard for me to do, being from the other side as a citizen, trying to understand that. And so I try to find parts of the process. And for me, that was like the threat of the Glenmore Reservoir emptying out, right? That's a tangible thing you can see. That's something we can actually rally around. And that's, again, nobody's fault. I mean, the fact that it's dropping, like, we can blame all the passing, but it's something I can fight for right now. And that's, hey, if we use all the water faster than it's replenishing, then we're in trouble, right? And so I try to fixate on that. Like, that's something I can get people to rally behind a little bit. Again, it's not their fault that this broke down. It is definitely a government's fault that this all broke down. So we can either focus on fighting that, or if this runs out, we're in trouble.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, you're right. And I saw, Mayor Farkas come out and he was giving his daily updates, and he was really good at that. He was giving his daily updates and letting people know, 3-minute showers. And I think Calgarians are happy that they can have a nice long shower now. But the thing is Calgarians, yet again, we're under another water restriction yet again. And this is how I look at city council, and tell me if I'm wrong, because I could be completely wrong here. City council is a board of directors of a company. That's basically what that is. And
we're told sometimes yes, sometimes no.
Right. And that's where I think the disconnect actually falls is are you board of directors or are you not board of directors? Do you guys get a say or do you not get a say? And what I'm seeing is city administration is doing a lot of the running, and it's actually supposed to be the other way around with the David Duckworth, for instance. Let's address the elephant in the room. I've been attacking David Duckworth for probably the last week and a half at this point. The man makes $400,000 a year. He was a former city manager. And then you got Naheed Nancy, who's out there. He's been very, very quiet on this. And Naheed Nancy from 2010 to 2021 was the city mayor. And we have, the pipes bursting year after year. At this point, it seems like we're just, to be honest with you, Calgarians are waiting for it to happen again. This is, when's the next one going to be? And they're seeing no accountability. And David Duckworth is in the hot seat. Head Nancy is in the hot seat. And council, I think, has to hold accountability, because right now I'm not holding any blame to anybody on council. Like, there's people on council right now that are doing the best they can, like you, like the mayor, and others. It's city administration, I think, that needs a shakeup at this point. And what are we doing as council to ensure something like that happens?
I definitely blame me for my part in this, and that was my inability to convince the rest of the council during the budget session to make this a priority. That was a failure of mine, right? Mm-hmm. I'm not necessarily professional at being able to convince people things, right? Like, I could sell you a furnace, right? Hopefully because you need it, not because you don't need it. But yeah. But to sell or to convince the other councillors during this last budget that this should be a focus, basics. That's it, right? And I wasn't able to do that. Go look back at the money we spent. Yes, the taxes went down, but where did the extra expenses go to, right? And that'll show you what this priority is, right? And my biggest fear is that we don't learn from this second water break, because from now on out, it is on this council, right? If we don't make a change at the top, and this water bursts again, right? It's gonna be on us, right?
Do you feel that a change will come eventually? Like, I'm not sitting here going to press you for dates or anything like that, but do you feel like under current city administration and being a council member that everybody could cohesively work together after this in tandem? Or do you think, down the road that Calgarians, because I keep hearing this, I don't think this narrative is going to go away. Calgarians want somebody. And I think they want the city administrator. They want somebody, because it is too much. We have, again, Naheed Nancy. He's been very quiet. I've been attacking Naheed on this. There's no way from 2010 to 2021 as a mayor of a city that you do not know the current state of the infrastructure. You cannot dodge that. You can't.
I don't think we can get to where we need to be with this current leadership team. There's no way.
And leadership on administration level. Yeah. So and that's kind of where I see Calgarians are. So when you say, like, I blame myself, and that's where I see the passion. That's what I really like about you, is you take this to heart, because you were elected by the people. And I don't think anybody's blaming you for the pipe. But you're doing everything you can to convince people of, the money. We need to do the money. We need to look into the money. We need to go line by line. We have to do all this stuff. Are you getting, do you find most days that people are opening up to your ideas of, this is important and we're here for the people?
I'd like to think, again, this second break will have changed those priorities of this council, right? Because we do have the next 4-year strategic meeting coming up next week. And this is our opportunity as a council, right, to sit around and be like, what are our priorities? Is it climate? Is it housing? Is it DEI? Is it making sure social issues are the number one thing? Like, is that what our priorities are going to be? Or is it going to be making sure this city functions on a basic level, right? So that's what I'm going to be fighting for. It's not going to be sexy. It's not going to be, it's not going to make headlines, right? It shouldn't. It should just be like, holy moly, like we drove down that road, didn't pop one tire, right? Snow is removed faster, right? These are all things people want, right? A lot of these other priorities, I like to call them like a rich city problem, right? When you can worry about a lot of the social aspects, but we just don't have that money. We don't have we don't have that luxury anymore, what we did 20 years ago, right? We're in a different world now where, in my opinion, the priorities of the last couple of councils have been so focused on things that have put us in this position, right? And it's going to be very difficult to get us out. Like, I mean, the left pushes us so far, right? And then just to claw back little pieces at a time, it's going to be a battle.
Absolutely. And you see that all the time, right? Where the left come over, if you go to the federal level, because you're a man of politics, not just municipal politics, you follow provincial and federal. If you look at what has happened over the last 10 years, 11 years, $750 billion added to the national debt by Justin Trudeau. Mark Carney's going to add another $500 billion. We only have $1.4 trillion in the national debt. So if you do the math on that, folks, it's quite a bit. And what happens is they spend, and on things like blue rings and things like that, and special programs for DEI and Naheed Nenshi, he was voted best mayor. Well, it's very easy to be voted in best mayor when all you're doing is spending money.
Now, to be fair, Gondek was also voted best mayor too. So.
Fair, absolutely right. Yeah, thank you for correcting me on that. But yeah, Gondek and Naheed Nenshi, which I'm not fans of either, far leftists, I find, spend on taxpayer dollars to get themselves to be the best mayor. And then you have a crisis like you have today, and that's really the byproduct of it. It's the byproduct of spend inefficiently, like the feds, or even when provinces do it. Right? The people always hurt. It's always the people, and that's where the money is coming from. And I think I'm confident that you guys have it under control. Myself, just watching what's happening, it was literally baptism by fire for a lot of you. You got into the job, you went into it. There was some tough conversation around budget, and then your very first emergency in the middle of winter happens. And I think, as a council, could things have been handled differently? Absolutely, 100%. But everybody's still learning. And I'm just hoping moving forward, we might be able to see, some accountability aspects. I think the report, and this is what I want to segue into, the provincial government's getting involved here because they have to at this point, right? The provincial government would love nothing more to let cities be cities and do what they have to do. But that being said, you can only look at something for so long because Calgarians, after all, are Albertans. And so what's your thoughts? Do you welcome that? Do you welcome them coming in?
Yeah, whether it was an NDP-led province or a UCP-led province, I think it's needed.
You think it's needed?
Yeah.
And I also think that's needed as well. And I think they will play fair, and they truly just want what's best for Albertans. A lot of people are saying that this is a Naheed Nenshi angle, and they're trying to find something on Naheed Nenshi. And don't worry, guys, you don't need the provincial government to do that. I'm doing a pretty good job at that right now, and I'm an unelected official. Trust me, we'll have something on him. But the thing is that I'm asking everybody on council, because the finger on the pulse is this right now. Calgarians welcome it. They like that Danielle Smith and her government are coming in to check this out. They would think no differently as well if it was an NDP government. And I don't think it actually is because they've lost faith in council at all or by any means. I think it's just we need somebody else to look at this report and go from there. What were your thoughts on the report? Honest thoughts. I want to know what do you think about it?
I didn't even know about the report, right? I understand this report process has been out there for almost 2 years or a year and a half or whatever it is. So I knew there were reports during the last break, and that was the engineer report. Like there was some other little reports there and there. I didn't really find out, and I think a lot of counselors didn't know about this specific independent report until the day the water broke again, right?
Mhm.
Like that was when I found out, and I said, "Holy moly!" Right? And so my initial thought on the report was, "Well, how independent is it?" And that was that we keep throwing that word around, independent, and then you find out. I think Flint, Michigan, they had an independent report. And so I started comparing this report's process and other independent reports process, and it didn't really line up as an independent report. And so I had questions around that, and I wanted answers. I wanted to know, can I trust this report? Can I trust the people doing the report, right? I had 1,000 conversations in my head trying to figure out, can I trust this report? Can I go back to my constituents and be like, yeah, this report is good? And so, I mean, the process was the frustrating part of getting to this report. Like they said, it was going to be ready at the end of 2025. No, quarter one of 26. No, end of January. Like, so trying to nail down what we were to expect, and then finally we were able to get a hold of them. They kind of, I don't know, did they rush it, whatever, right? So we ended up getting the report, and so finding out that the report, it was thorough. I think like. It was a 1.5 year process, but they only really spent about 6 to 8 months on it, right? So was that enough time to really dig into everything? So, but what came out of it, I think, is the important part, and the urgency of some of the lack of maintenance, the urgency of the governance side of that. It just sucks that we needed to spend $2 million to basically verify what we already knew, right? And so if that's what it takes for governments to actually get the ball rolling on being better, then I encourage the same level of auditing in every single department, including the province, including federal government. Like if that's what it takes, and if this is what this report takes us to fix 20 years of neglect, then so be it. $2 million, I can go back to a constituent and be like, listen, this $2 million is going to bring us a system that will have more accountability, will be more efficient, right? Again, it sucks that we have to be there. I hate spending money. I really do. But if that's what we take out of this, it just sucks that we said, hey, administration, what do you think about this? Right now, they're going to come back to us with, again, I don't know. I think they've got to start building the trust back. And as council, I think we have to find a way to fast track that, right? To build that trust back. Because look how many people voted in this last election. People don't trust the system. They don't trust council. They don't trust their government, right? And I don't blame them. Neither did I. That's why I ran, right?
Well, people are pissed.
People, I'm pissed.
Yeah.
You're pissed. Like
Yeah.
people are pissed. And it's not just us. Like it's the provincial government. It's the federal government, right? Like people are mad at the process, right? We got to figure out a way to fix that.
Well, there's such a great opportunity here, though, right? There's a huge opportunity where you guys could get this right. People have lost faith in the federal system. People have lost faith in the provincial system. And people still do actually have faith in their municipalities. They absolutely do. It's their home. It's where they live. It's where they work. It's where they play. You know, they bring their family in from out of town. They're proud of their home. I think people actually have faith in municipalities, and this is where you guys have that as a new council, you know, new leadership. You guys all ran on messaging. You guys all ran on what you're going to do for your constituents. And I truly do think your constituents are going to hold your feet to the fire on this, and they're going to make sure damn well that that you guys get this right. And people like myself as well, you know, independent journalists, mainstream news media, we're all going to make sure that happens. You know, what are you hearing from your constituents? Since you've come in? You know, it's new. You've had a lot. There's been a lot since you've started from where you are today. And have you had a chance to get out there and speak with some of them and see where their pulse is at?
Yeah, and that's definitely the best part of this job, is going out talking to people, right? That was kind of one of the biggest parts of the recall I really enjoyed. And that was, everybody had a reason why they wanted to sign it. Everybody had a story, right? And I just love talking to people, figuring out just the frustration. A lot of it resonated with me. Some of the frustrations I didn't even know about. And so going through getting elected, going through the budget, right? There hasn't been a lot of time to be able to get out there and talk to people. And so I find now when I am, let's say, stressed out or whatever, I like going out and talking. It calms me down. Going door knocking, seeing what people are even aware of the issues, right? Or reminding them like, this is the role of municipal government. Like you have an issue, whether it's small or big, you come to me and I'll make sure it goes to the right people, right? So I have been going out talking to people, and I like to keep track of it, right? So about 10% of people are aware of everything, like you and I. They know the name of the people, they know the problems, they watch the news, they know, right? And then there's that middle part where people just they accept it. They go about it, right? There's water restrictions. They're doing their part, right? These people are awesome, right? They're just society. They love the city. They accept it. And then obviously then there's 10% of the people that will push back. They'll be like, I'm running my taps all day. I'm doing this, right? Yeah. So the people that were really pushed too far, that they're really frustrated with everything. And so that's what I kind of noticed, right? So it's the middle people that I like to tell them, but like your voice matters. Well, I didn't vote last time, so I don't really care. So, well, your voice matters. Like go out and vote. Like make sure you get out and vote next time. But again, it's just, how do we build that trust back? And for me, hopefully door knocking will help, or going around talking to people and reminding that like you guys are in charge. You're the boss, right? You tell me what to do and I'll go do it.
I think I might just move. Guys, yeah. I think I'm just going to move to Landon's ward, and then I can have some representation. On a provincial level, I definitely have representation for sure. On a municipal level, that's another podcast. But you know, and I like hearing that. And this is, as I bring, you know, more politicians into the chair, you know, we're going to be bringing them in from the federal all the way down to the municipal level, you know, just sitting here and talking with you about, you know, what's happening and with the water main break. You're just a genuine guy. And that's what I want people at home to know. Because sometimes through the cameras or over the voice, it's hard for people to understand that. And this is what I think politicians need to be. They need to be somebody who can come in, answer questions, and not be perfect. I think that's the biggest thing in politics. And this is why I have an interest to run in politics, because I am far from perfect. I can't wait till an election campaign when I decide to run, the amount of videos that they're going to pull out about me. And then it's just going to be it's going to be almost like a yearbook. You know what I mean? It's going to be a yearbook, and they can pull it all out. And whether I win or don't win, it's not really up to me. But it's one of those things. So what's your aspirations? I always have to ask people this, because you've reached it to the top. People have every right to be proud of you. You're an elected official. You've been elected by constituents to sit in the mayor, or not in the mayor. Well, maybe the mayor's chair one day. Do you ever want to be a mayor?
I don't know. I've never really thought about it, to be honest. No. I mean, I do aspire to do actually accomplish things, right? If I was ever in that position, I want to, because I have a track record of solutions, a track record of be like, look what I was able to do for Ward 14. Look what I was able to do. That it would have to be. I don't want to just get there on my name. I want to be there because I've earned it.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Municipal to federal or to provincial, you don't know. You're just so new at this. You're like,
wherever I got to go to make the best change, that's where I'll be.
Mm-hmm. Because I have talked to some municipal councillors from other cities and even from other provinces, and they say, you know, municipal politics is one of the best places to be, because you can create and be part of the most change, mm-hmm. right? And it actually does affect your neighbors. And you get to talk to your neighbors, and you get to interact, and you can actually see the change in real time. So that's why, you know, I think it's right in your wheelhouse. Like I said, I've been following you a very, very long time, and since the Gondek stuff, and really like everything that you are doing. If there was one message that you could tell Calgarians, you know, that would really, really kind of, that you wanted to drive home to them when it comes down to this water main break and what's happening with this new council, what would that be?
I'd almost say don't be, and you have every right to do this, is be reactionary to certain things. Like we had a meeting, an in-camera meeting, right? That's part of the process, right? A lot of people were upset that change wasn't made, right? But that's just the first part of the process, right? I like this council. We're made up of a little bit of everything, right? If you have too much of one side, things could go wrong, right? It's good to have pushback from every side, right? And so that really puts the onus on myself and let's say some of the other counselors to refine their position, to be more clear, right? And that's something I'm working on, being somebody that would be on a job site and be, hey, go do this, right? Like now I've got to be like polite, right? Like, or at least try to be
Basically
polite
what you're
about
saying is you're not blue collar anymore.
I'm not blue
right?
collar.
And you have
Right.
to, you're now an elected official and you have to be the elected official. You got to be nice about things instead of, hey, I don't care, get over there and do it. Do you find yourself doing that sometimes and you have to catch yourself like, uh-oh?
all the time.
Yeah,
and it's something that will get me in trouble. Hey, you didn't show up to work, you're fired, right? Like, sorry, you showed up drunk, you're fired. Right. You can't do that anymore. Like there's a process and I'm learning the process. And part of that process is fixing it along the way. So to Calgarians, like there's a process to this and it's not going to be immediate always. Right. And that's frustrating for me because I look at, we've got the memorial for the missing children on the front steps, right? All I want to do is I want to go clean it up tomorrow, right? And do more for reconciliation through a path other than that, right? But I can't just go clean it up. I asked, trust me. Right? And so there's a process to it. So now I've got to figure out to not slow down, but just accept parts of it, right? But then get mad and frustrated when I think that part of the process should be fixed.
And I want to be clear, like you don't think the memorial for like it's not an important topic. You think that there's other ways other than just doing that. There's something else we could be doing.
And we are, right? And that's the part of it I like. Like we're not just ignoring it, right? We're already in the process, and the city has done a really good job doing everything they can do, right? And trust me, there's departments within the city of Calgary. And I think Indigenous relationships is important, but what have we done up to this point that can show success, right? Because I go on reserves all the time talking to people, right? What's reconciliation to you? What's this to you, right? And for a lot of people, it's different. And a lot of people, what we're doing right now is not helping, right? And that was my whole thing, 17 land acknowledgements in the first 5 days.
I loved that. That was probably, you know what? That was probably my best Landon Johnston. We're gonna play it for the show. That was my best clip of you when you came out because you were bang on. You were bang on with it. Why are we dealing with this stuff when there's other things to deal with?
But where we're at in society, that it took a status Indian to be able to talk about, that's too many, right? Because the rest of the people, even though they were also confused, upset, frustrated about it, they're too afraid to say anything. And that's not okay with me.
No.
Right? We're not equal, right? If you're afraid to talk, we're not equal, right? And that was the problem with that, is that people were being forced, and it felt forced. I won't speak for them, but watching somebody give a personal side of reconciliation when you can tell they don't want to do it.
So I got to segue back into provincial politics, Landon. It's something, that is really, I'm really passionate about, thinking that maybe one day I might run in provincial politics myself. And I do see how it is important for them to get involved, especially when it comes down to this Calgary water main break. I had mentioned earlier Naheed Nenshi, 2010 to 2021, he's the mayor. And, you've mentioned that you talked to some constituents and, you talked to multiple constituents and I can only help myself, but how many people has Naheed Nenshi talked to, right, in that time that he was mayor and this water pipe? So, do you think coming down the pipe, this is just your personal opinion, I'm not, you can answer it if you'd like. Do you think we're going to find something where Naheed Nenshi was complicit or negligent would probably be a better word in his governing as mayor?
So a lot of people are asking why we're so focused on laying blame to this, right? So how did we lead up to this? Water main breaks, shutting down the city, people having to adjust their way of life in one of the richest cities in Canada. Why are we here? right? I think it's not about laying blame. I think it's about ensuring that doesn't happen again, right? So I don't care where that investigation leads to, as long as it happens and those involved are held responsible for it, right? And so every single day we are in meetings, we're talking to administration, right? We're giving reports every single day, sometimes talking to dozens, hundreds of people, right, within the system. And they're coming to us with everything they have because they don't want to be negligent, right? We give them direction. They come back with reports, right? It's going to be very hard. The city operates really well, right? Right. The very small percentage of it really needs to be changed. But the majority of it, people get water, people get power, right? There's a reason why people move to this city. Like, it's a good city, right? And so I have faith in a large portion of administration because, again, the city operates properly, right? And so they're always watching out for their back. So it's important for them to bring us the information. So now it's shared, that responsibility shared. So it's going to be very hard to believe that they didn't bring that information to the last councils, whether that's Nenshi or Gondak, right? We're going to find out. And I'm glad there's oversight happening. Again, I don't care who it is, even if the federal government had to step in to ensure that we get to the bottom of it and that it doesn't happen again, right? So the province UCP government is going to step in and hopefully they get the answers, right? I don't think they're going to have to manufacture anything. I think they're just going to ask for the documents, and the documents, as long as they're provided, I think will tell the truth. And that's all people want. They want the truth.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know what? You made a really good point there, because we talk about Nenshi, but Gondek was also mayor. And, you know, whether or not it's both of them or one of them or just Gondek, it really doesn't matter. We don't really have to name names, right? Because it could be an administration level. It could be councillors as well. It could be anybody who was involved in the city. I think Calgarians just want answers, and they want accountability, because, you know, we're so seasoned in Canada, especially, and the States has this problem too, where politicians just get off.
I think the term is nothing ever happens.
Yeah.
Right. You see it all the time. It's American politics, Canadian politics. Like, it's just, again, it's the taxpayer. It's us citizens that are always the ones paying for it. We're always the ones that are on the end of the stick, right? Whereas it's politicians, it's people in charge that make these decisions, and they get away with it, right? And that has to end. That's the culture that has to end. When I talk culture, it's that culture I want to end. I want the people making decisions, right? And I'm okay with the wrong decisions sometimes. I'm okay with people making mistakes, right? But there are consequences to that, right? Did you forget to do something? Okay, well, here are the consequences for getting that, right? Like, it'd be nice just to hear a politician or somebody apologize. Like, and that was my biggest issue going through orientation with the administration, because going into it, a lot of times at the door, well, it's a tail wagging the dog or whatever, right? It's administration really running things. And I didn't really believe that until I saw it firsthand in orientation, where they'd show us the survey from Calgarians, and it's 10, 20% less than it was 8 years ago, the satisfaction of living in Calgary, right? Well, citizens made that choice for their elected officials that they wanted change. They wanted to see that satisfaction go up. But it wasn't just council, right? Administration, they have to take their responsibility on. And they did not, at one point, did they take responsibility for anything over the past 10 years, right? And it's every single day. I'm opening up another report. I'm opening up another department. And it's just, the priorities are wrong. Like, maybe they got direction from the city. Like, DEI is the most important thing you can do. Right. And so it's in everything, every document, every single department has staff dedicated to ensuring that not the best person is on that job, but something other than merit. Right. And it's frustrating, because it's just every time something comes up, and I even voted against, I think it was the anti-racism committee, because they couldn't provide me with any success from them even being in existence.
That makes sense.
Right?
That makes sense.
Has racism got better or worse because we've had an anti-racism committee since the George Floyd incident?
What does
right?
that cost, an anti-racism committee?
Well, it used to cost nothing. And now they are able to take, I think it's $200 per meeting. And what used to be either a monthly or a quarterly meeting. No, it used to be a quarterly meeting. So they'd meet 4 times a year. And now they can meet up to 12 times a year and receive payment for their time. Whether it might be I'll have to double check, but now it's a paid position, right? And I'm like, well, has racism got better or not better, but less racism, right? Yeah. Because you guys exist. Well, I don't know. Well, then
there's no point.
There's no point, right? Get rid of it, right? If it's gotten worse, then definitely get rid of it. Right. And then I asked, like, well, where are you seeing the racism? Give me some examples of the racism you're dealing with. They couldn't give it to me. Is it coming from one group to another group? Right. Give me the facts and I can defend it. Right. But if you just tell me, no, well, we're here because we exist, well, it's not good enough. Right. And that's just everywhere. There's so many of these programs, initiatives, and it's getting hard to keep track of them all. But it's got to go, right? They're not adding anything to society.
You're that breath of fresh air, bud. That's exactly what you are. Are we expecting you to be the vocal one that just calls this shit out? Because that's kind of what we need, right? Yes, you need to have a level of kindness and you have to have a level of compassion and you have to have that. We understand that. But when you just look at something that is completely a waste of time or wasteful spending that is happening, are you going to be that guy that says, you know what, like this has to change. We have to fix this.
I don't think we need a document to tell us to be nice. I don't think we need to sign something. I don't think there needs to be a program to say, like, be nice to your neighbor, be nice to them, right? Also, I think it's okay to call people out, right? Like on a job site, when somebody calls you a retard on a job site, right? That hits you deep, right?
Yeah,
like
it's happened.
You know you did something really messed up to be called a retard, right? Yeah. And so you immediately figure like, okay, how do I not do that again, right? And so there's a part of society that... not that we've gone too soft, but there's a part that you should be able to make a mistake. You should be able to say something and then be able to apologize for it, right? There's some of my best friendships and relationships were from somebody I initially disagreed with or had a fight with, right? But then you come and then you're like, well, why did you say that? Why did you do that, right? And then you find some common ground and then you build a relationship off that, right? But we don't have that anymore, right? Everybody's so offended by everything. And it's so ingrained in government that it's gonna be hard to get rid of. Like I hold no grudges against anybody unless they deserve it, right? And right now it's just when you see it again ingrained in everything, it's frustrating because I'm just one voice. I don't know how I'm gonna be the one to bring back merit-based hiring or further Indigenous relationships by eliminating the Indigenous relationships department. Like, I think we can do more by doing less, right? Just letting society progress, make mistakes, be who they want to be. Like, that was a part in our history where I think we did our most progress, technology, society. Like, there was a time and we just let people deal with it, right? And now we just regress so much. And I think we've got to turn that around.
Yeah, and you know what? That's I couldn't have said it any better. You know, the thing is you know, I appreciate everything that you've done in your lifetime up till now. You know, new father, getting into politics. You know, your HVAC guy, blue collar. You know, putting your neck out there, taking that time. It can't be easy, right? It can't be easy at all. And I think this shows a lot of you guys at home and gals that you really can do it. If you want to make change, you can get into this and you can put your neck out there as well and get involved in your community, get involved, you know, with your constituency or whatever committee that might be out there to create that change. Landon, I just want to thank you so much for coming on the show. It means a lot. And 1 year from now, I'm going to put it on my calendar. I'm going to get a hold of you. I want to bring you back on and I want to see what that year from now till then looks like. And unless something your Twitter's amazing. So guys, gals, follow him on Twitter. Unless something crazy comes up, I'm going to reach out to you and bring you back into the studio. But I really look forward to having you on in another year from now, and just following you along this journey and everything that you are doing, because you are definitely an asset to Calgarians.
And I'd like to say thank you to you. You've been a breath of fresh air for a lot of people, right? I do find the left has a strong narrative, right? And they're very coordinated, right? And I want to really start seeing conservatives be a little bit more united, right? Conservatives do a lot of good things, but coming together is not one of them, right? And so we need people to rally around. We need people that are going to be people you can go to, like yourself, right? Or Great Northern Discussion. Like these are good people that rose from the ashes, right? Essentially, right? And that's what we need right now. We need that give and take. But right now, it's time for this province to kind of start stepping up and pushing back a little bit.
Awesome. Well, I really appreciate it. Thanks again. Give yourself a wonderful day.
Thank you so much.
And there you have it, folks. Landon Johnston, Calgary City Councilor. And wow, what a breath of fresh air that absolutely was. You know, this is the thing. As a guy who sits here in the chair, who's always aspired to be a politician, been following politics since I was 8 years old, you know, he really does show that you can get out there and make a difference, whether you're doing what I do with content on a daily basis or a podcast, or you do want to get your name on a ballot and get elected. Landon shows us every single day that you can make that happen. Ladies and gentlemen, we are a fully supporter-sponsored show, so you know what that means. BertaProudDad.com. Grab all of your gear, your conservative merch. Let's make it happen. They wave their flags in our faces. We can wear our shirts in theirs. Till next time.